Let's try this again. All right, everybody. How is everybody doing? Been a couple of weeks here. We were kind of looking over the comments. Noticed a couple of you are tuning in for the Porcelain Throne, and for that we thank you. So
that's a little interesting.
little TMI, but that's all right. But anyways, regardless of where you're at, what device you're on, or what throne you were sitting on, thank you for being with us. As you saw on my post I did yesterday, I believe, big announcement, bittersweet, or just sad, really. So today was my last day at Ozark Mountain Trading Company. Almost 4 years. It is what it is, unfortunately. And I shared a post the other day on our Facebook page. If you haven't already, please follow us on Facebook. I do a lot of content on there that's not on YouTube, but we posted. It was a figure I'll just waste time here and look it up. I believe it was Cedar Creek Outdoor Center is closing. And I was surprised. I'm familiar with them. I'm not intimately familiar as far as just knowing the ins and outs of it, but 18-year paddle shop, a large paddle shop. And honestly, unfortunately, I think we're going to see more of that. Cedar Creek Outdoor Center in Dallas, Georgia, announcing that they are closing their doors. Liquidation sales, you're going to see a lot of that. And, so Ozark Mountain Trading Company, when I started there, we were 4 stores. We went to 5 stores, and, we're talking Ozark, Missouri, Conway, Arkansas, Garfield, Arkansas, Siloam Springs, Arkansas, and Cotter, Arkansas, which is the store that I manage. And now we're down to 2 right now, Cotter and Garfield being the original store. And so before I get into it, big thanks, big shout out to Larry Jenkins, one of the founders of Ozark Mountain Trading Company. I was informed of this about a month ago, a little over a month ago.
Yep.
And honestly, that allowed me to kind of take care of things that I needed to take care of as far as finding new employment, and give me plenty of time to kind of be picky on where I go and make the best decision for me ultimately. So obviously I'm still going to do content. That's not going to change. Now it may look a little different. Ozark Mountain Trading Company is not closing altogether, but they're definitely scaling back. And whether you see a lot of these family-owned paddle shops closing down completely like you see in Cedar Creek, or drastically scaling back like Ozark Mountain Trading Company and a lot of other large-scale shops or specialty stores out there, you may see them, and we've seen it already locally. We had a large paddle shop in Hot Springs, Arkansas here closed down after several years. A Ouachita Outdoor Outfitters, and I may be butchering that name, but you get the gist of it. There's one kayak store in Conway, Arkansas. And I'm talking about just Arkansas here, guys, obviously. But this is going to mirror what I think is what's already happening really across the country. We did one kind of poll question where asking, where is your closest paddle shop? Some of you say it's just down the road. Some of you say it's 3 hours or more away. And even those shops don't really have a whole lot of inventory. That's what's kind of being created right now. So, those that used to carry just a ton of inventory, you're going to start seeing those kind of scale back a little bit. And ultimately, what does this mean for you, the customer? Whether you're already all the way into kayak fishing, or you're just looking to get your feet wet a little bit. Less options is not a good thing for the industry. Online, it helps a lot of people that don't have options there, but ultimately it's not the best thing because you're not able to try it before you buy it. You're not able to get hands on it. Some of you may know what you want, and that's ultimately what we try to do on YouTube and videos. And taking it out on the water, doing the walkthrough, because again, a lot of you don't have something in your backyard, and we have access to that. So honestly, it's a bummer. That's the best way to put it, because at the end of the day, me and Kristina here, we're both avid paddlers, fishers. We like to be on creeks and rivers, be out on the lake, and we're kayakers. So you can make the argument that the word kayak has kind of taken a different meaning in the last 3 or 4 years with the evolution of the fishing kayak or plastic boat. But however you want to describe it, we're all in on it. Whether I work at a paddle shop or not, it's still kind of what I am to and what my passion is. So, it makes it's going to make a huge dent in the overall industry of this general area. And, I'm talking about surrounding states. There's some small shops here and there, but we were kind of one of the last, what I call specialty shops, where that's all we do is kayaks, accessories, and kind of grew from there. But yeah.
So one of the things that him and I have talked a lot about in the last month is just kind of what the future holds for the channel, what our options are going to be. And huge shout out to Larry Jenkins. We actually worked with him today. I'm going to get really teary-eyed about this. He has been the one person that we've kind of worked with for the last 4 years. And when I say we've worked with, he officially works at the store. I'm there kind of as needed. I'm there more in the summer because I teach, so I have a little more time. But Larry came by on Thursday and he asked me, he's like, are you going to be at the store on Saturday? So I was like, I told Andy, I was like, yes, I'm going to be there on Saturday. It's your last day. And so we actually got to spend the day working alongside Larry today, and kind of just reminded of what we love about the whole thing.
Yeah.
I actually got to talk to a customer today on an outlaw. And we're kind of getting into the slower season, but still having those interactions. And one of the things that I know Larry has asked us is, are you guys still planning on doing the channel? And are you still wanting to do content? So I know that they're putting in some smaller orders for this upcoming year. So we know that once we get our hands on it, they have asked us to do some content. So as long as that's an option, that is where we're heading.
Yeah. And, as long as OMTC has the doors open, which I genuinely hope, because the business is there. And I should really say this, it's not so much a business problem. You've got people that have done this for years and decades in some cases. A lot of these people are looking to retire, and they're, maybe they don't want to run all over the state and be road warriors for forever. And, it's the same case here. You got the, two brothers and one of their wives that started this company, and they're all retired. They even tried to take a step back here a couple of years ago and just kind of had to get back into it, and realizing you can't run a large business like that from afar. You've got to be hands-on. So they kind of, and from a worker bee standpoint, it was really nice kind of seeing them back in it and interacting with them again, because that's what I started at. But I understand it completely. And downsizing is one thing. And I say it's not a business problem. There is definitely a business issue there, but that was the same case in the Hot Springs, Arkansas paddle shop, which that was a pretty large paddle operation as well. And the gentleman that started that, he was just ready to retire, and there's nobody there to take it over. And so again, with OMTC, we're still going to do content, obviously, and I'm going to do it with OMTC as long as that's available. But if that's ever not available in the future, we're still going to do content. We're still going to talk to you guys. We're still going to have guests on here, which we've got, again, working with some future guests coming on. I'm really excited about. We may go to doing the live streams every 2 weeks, because my schedule is going to be hectic here for probably the next year, kind of being on the road and back home. So it may be some odd times. some of these interviews may be pre-recorded. We'll kind of play around with that a little bit, but ultimately, bare bones, we're still going to do overviews of new kayaks. I've already kind of got discussions about reviewing the XTR 130 from Bonafide. I'm excited about that. I'm going to do a few different videos on that kayak that we're going to do, obviously, the walkthrough, kick it old school, me, a camera, and a boat. And then I want to paddle this kayak. I want to paddle the XTR 130. You're going to have so many people out there doing videos of just throwing a motor on it, having 2 motors on it. How fast can you go on this, and how many people can you carry on it? I want to paddle it. That was the first thing that I want to do with this kayak, because again, it's made to be motorized, but when I paddle a kayak, that tells me how it's going to perform with a motor more than anything. And obviously, I'm going to put a motor on it, both bow and stern. We're going to do speed tests. We'll do a lot of different stuff on that. But rest assured, we're not going anywhere as far as that goes. But again, it may look a little different and may be a little bit, because it seems like people enjoy the talking face, the top 5 lists, the how-tos more than just going over a boat. Because at the end of the day, I've got so many overview videos out there. There's only so many new kayaks that come out there. But obviously, a lot of these companies will make changes both in price and features. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the Wilderness Systems Tactical Pro kayak. I'm looking forward to seeing the Bonafide XTR. I saw Headwaters Kayak on Facebook. They had kind of some pictures of their first XTR. So they're already starting to hit the sales floors. Again, this time of year, it's really, really early, and you're not going to see a whole lot. I've got an order personally already in for the roller bearing foot steering. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on one of those, and a lot of other things here. So thinking, so just kind of looking at some comments here. Yeah, I mean, it is, we're definitely not trying to be buzzkills here, and it's all going to be good. The thing that bums me out the most about this is for the industry. So not only does this hurt the local kayak economy in this really general area of the country, we were a large inventory dealer. This was really, and I'm not talking about just us. I'm not talking about us like on a ivory pedestal there, but there's some of these kayak manufacturer or kayak stores like us that are really scaling back, or some that are just closing down. That hurts the manufacturers too, because this is kind of what I've been cautioning about for a while with, the whole online, direct to customer thing. Is it really kind of cuts the paddle shop out of that. And you got a large one that may be okay, but it's going to hurt their bottom line a little bit, but it really is going to hurt those smaller paddle shops. And we're seeing a lot of those close down. So I would really like to see some programs. I would really like to see, and hopefully I'm able to in the future work with a lot of these companies on maintaining the health of their retailers, because that is not me speaking from my income. That is talking about options for people, because a lot of you don't have those available. Well, where are you going to go? You're going to go to a big box store. You're not going to experience the service of a quality manufacturer that takes pride in their product and has great warranties and available parts. And, we've seen Hobie go to Mexico. We've seen a lot of things happen that kind of, made us think, how is this healthy for that company or the industry as a whole? And that's really my only concern there.
So one of the things that he just kind of touched on is service, right? So one of the things that because we've seen 2 locations last year shut down, which was a Conway location and the Siloam Springs. And then just a couple weeks ago, it was more than a couple weeks ago now, but we saw the Ozark, Missouri OMTC shut down. And this last week, and I've been at the store a lot this last week because I knew that this was going to be the last week that we're there, the number of calls that we're getting for, we need this done, we need this service, we need this, we need that. And that's a part that I think I'm concerned about, because I'm sitting here going, you have these big box stores, you have these online retailers. What happens when people need the actual service to the product.
Yeah. What if they need a seat strap? I mean, we're not talking about like crazy stuff like a big hole in it. You're going down there. Maybe you had a few too many iced teas and you plop down in your seat, you break your buckle that holds the seat strap in. That happens to the best or the worst of kayaks. And, that's where a lot of those local retailers are able to do. Now, some of them you can buy them online depending on what you're looking at. But ultimately, there's a lot of stuff that is just really, hopefully, and my hope is that somebody eventually kind of maybe comes in and fills that void, which I'm sure it will. It wouldn't surprise me to start seeing paddle shops that are operated by the manufacturers eventually. Honestly, it'd be stupid not to, just my opinion. But, again, I'm always going to have a soft spot for that family-owned, locally owned shop. But you got to do what you got to do as far as, being able, so Native, Bonafide, Jackson, even Hobie, they've got to find a way to service their customers, whether that's investing in storefronts themselves or, you may see them kind of get into some other retailers that may surprise you. You just never know. It's kind of hard to tell at this point.
And just so you guys know what our week looked like, he's talking about Hobie service, and I'm sitting here laughing at him because
man. Oh my God.
We spent it was 9 p.m. by the time we actually got out of the store. When was that? Thursday?
Yeah, it was Thursday.
So on Thursday we were working on a 360 drive, and got out of there at 9 p.m. just because it was so difficult to get to.
And full disclosure, I lost my cool a little bit. I think I scared Kristina a little bit. I don't consider myself an emotional person, but there's a reason I'm not a mechanic. I'll put it that way, because I know how aggravated I get at working on my own vehicles. But
just so you guys know, he's the throwing tools type, and he didn't throw any tool. He threw no tools in this job.
No.
But I think the volume of your voice scared the daylights.
Well, it was late at night and there's no people around, and it's, there's no store had been closed for about 3 hours. And, I said some words that mother would not approve of, let's put it that way. But, it ultimately, and that's something that I've always strived for. I don't care if I'm in, a manufacturing plant in a leadership position or a paddle shop, is you got to do, sometimes you just got to go that extra mile. And that's not a pat on the back by any means, but if somebody's going to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or more for something and they have something go wrong, you're going to do whatever you can possibly do to make that person feel like they're valued, because I would want that. If I put my money in something and something went wrong and the company made it right or sent the parts in, not everybody can get inside of a Pro Angler 360 and kind of work on the guts of it, as I always like to say. And it's frustrating because not everything really fits. There's not always a lot of room. I'm dealing with foam blocking. I'm dealing with tight spaces, things coming apart. And anybody that's ever worked with those little Allen keys, those slipping out of my hand and falling through the scupper holes into the floor and not finding I just had it. It was an accumulation of so many things. And I'm sure I don't care what you're working on or what you're doing. Everyone's had that day. That day was my day. So, but we got everything taken care of. Customer's happy. Everything's working fine. Wish we could have got it out a little sooner for that customer, but we were waiting on some parts there. But anyway, Ryan Fuller, what about a conglomerate that multiple retailers invest in a local? I don't know. In my opinion, there's no bad ideas in that. It's really something's going to happen, in my opinion, to keep the industry healthy. And I talked to Chad Hoover here a while back, and we one thing we really agreed on was, I really feel like the kayak industry is set for a strong run. So again, those paddle shops kind of holding on a little bit or running pretty lean and tight. Um, you know, Patience, I think, will be a good thing, but also the ability to adapt. So motors are king now. Pedal drives are there still, obviously, and I love to paddle as well, but motors are kind of where the growth is, and that's where I want to see a little bit more, because there's only so much innovation you can do with a paddle kayak. It kind of got to a point where everyone wanted stability, everyone wanted storage, and you just found more organizational things on a kayak, different places to put stuff, whether it be tackle boxes and things like that. The kayak industry has got to get to a point right now where they're more value focused. We all know prices are not going to go down. We're not going to see prices from 5 or 6 years ago, even though there were still expensive kayaks back then. But what are you getting for what you're paying for? And that's one thing I've had industry people on the show before, like Hans from Bonafide and people like that, is stressing to them that don't forget your entry level. We've got a garage full of really cool stuff, but we didn't start out with that stuff. So, and most of you didn't either. So, there obviously is some people that were kind of at the right time in life and they wanted to get into it and the budget was friendly there. But, those companies not forgetting that $500 to $700. And I'm not saying that's cheap by any means, but when you're talking about a quality made product, it's pretty low. It's going to be hard for them to rotomold and give a good seat and do all that stuff, but they got to start somewhere. Jackson tried to do it with the stacks a while back. You're looking at a $699 Jackson kayak. There were some design flaws with that, obviously, but I still want to celebrate that line of thinking, that budget-friendly fishing kayak, not trying to make a really cheap big box store kayak or recreational kayak into a fishing kayak. So that's kind of where I'm hoping to see things go in there. Scott, and sorry about that, Scott. I did see your comment kind of going down there. So today was my last day at Ozark Mountain Trading Company. Again, I kind of knew it had been coming there for a little bit, but today being the last day, it was kind of, I don't want to say bittersweet's not the right word, because it's not sweet me leaving the store. It was easily, and I'm 45 years old. This was the most enjoyment and the most satisfaction I've ever gotten out of a job. So I remember my first day when I interviewed for it. It's a family-run business, which is kind of where my passion is. I worked corporate really early age, and it just really wasn't for me. I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about sales, obviously, but being able to run things like I want to within a scope of things, obviously, and the freedom to do that. And that was kind of the sad part of it, I guess. The biggest thing is a hole left in the industry. So Ozark Mountain Trading Company is still in business, but they've scaled back from 5 stores all the way down to right now 2, one being their main one, which is their original store. The store I managed was the second one, but now that I'm gone, they're going to run minimum hours. They're going to do 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, moving forward. And then eventually I foresee them, again, unless something changes, I foresee them going to a centralized location and just running things out of that original, which if that keeps things going and that keeps the doors open for them, I hope they do that. But the biggest thing with a company like that is you've got some owners. And again, I'm just kind of summarizing for those of you that may have joined late. And first and foremost, thank you for coming by here. The industry, I don't want to say is hurting, but it's definitely in some pain. There is a little bit of a limp on the industry. And is it fixable? Of course. But how do you fix it? It's going to take a group effort. And I'd like to see some of these manufacturers and some of the retailers. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. One of the best products and one of the best manufacturers to work with a paddle shop is still NuCanoe. So NuCanoe if you're selling it online, they, again, as of right now, you have to charge a certain amount to ship it. There's no free shipping with NuCanoe. That is to support those local shops instead of these large online retailers that kind of give, not all of them, but some of them do kind of give the industry a bad name. And again, I'm not throwing shade on anybody there. I'm not wanting to go to court right now, but there are some online manufacturers that have really maybe not done the right thing all the time, but I'm definitely glad to see NuCanoe kind of stepping up and supporting that. Jackson used to do it and Hobie used to do it. When Hobie stopped doing it, Jackson kind of followed suit. So, that's, and again, I'm not trying to throw shade at the manufacturers because they're doing what they need to do to stay profitable and relevant. So that's not my intention there.
So here's the other thing, because he's thrown out NuCanoe. We actually heard from Blake this week.
Yeah.
Blake called the store this week. He was looking for Larry, but he called Andy, and so we kind of talked to him a little bit. And so to me, that's huge, because Blake is CEO of NuCanoe, and so him reaching out to the individual paddle shops and everything, I mean, that's super cool and great company. I'm biased toward NuCanoe, but I'm also very biased toward Bonafide and Native as well.
Yeah, same here.
So any of the Big Adventures group.
Yeah, and again, I'm always going to be a fan of quality products and innovation, and really those are just kind of the two companies that have done it right in the last several years. Crescent also, I've heard some things. I have not heard any specifics. If you guys watch the show we had, Duke with Catch Products, he kind of let the cat out of the bag on a few different things, but he did say to really look at something that Crescent's doing in the future. I'm sure he didn't say anything. I think it would get him in trouble, but it kind of sparked my curiosity. I don't know if they're doing a big water fishing kayak or something like that, but I'm definitely, they're not my favorite kayak, but it's just because of what I need my kayak to do. But they're a performance-based kayak. They are for the paddler. They are really maneuverable. Now, people that want like a stable 41-inch wide kayak, it's probably not the right one for you. But you're going to start to see some stuff happening with some other manufacturers because everyone's trying to compete for your dollar. So there's only so many dollars to go around, and if you're not innovating, you're not moving forward, you really take a step backwards. And that was, I was really a Jackson guy, but I've really kind of come on to Big Adventures, namely Bonafide and Native. But Jackson really hasn't done anything innovative in the last really several years, really since the NAR, and the NAR really kind of fell flat. But last year, just reinventing themselves with the big rig and the Cruise FD,
which we still have at OTC.
Yeah, the launch Cruise FD, which I think is a great kayak. I actually like it better than the Bite FD. That the blue and white one I did the video on, that's still sitting in the store. So we haven't ordered anymore. And again, if we're not ordering them, Jackson's not selling them, and it's in both of our best interest for these kayaks to do well. So, and maybe, and they do that to an extent. I'd like to see these companies really listen to their retailers a little bit more. Most of them have sales reps. We all have reps that we deal with. Sometimes it's a revolving door, unfortunately, and sometimes you get some people that have been around for quite some time. But they take feedback. It doesn't mean they have to do everything that we ask, but it's kind of nice to see those companies that listen seem to be the ones that are really hitting it on a high level right now. And again, I'm talking about NuCanoe. I'm talking about Big Adventures. I'd like to see Old Town maybe do some updating because I feel like they are extremely popular, especially during COVID time where they sold a lot of kayaks. They had a lot of inventory out there when nobody else did, but you're looking at hulls that really haven't been updated for quite some time. And even in the case of the autopilot, which was really innovative, it's time to start updating some of that stuff and give more of a value, because now you got kayaks like the XTR and the PWR and the Unlimited and now the U10, where there's a lot more value because you can build one of those out with the motors, have a better motor, and be substantially less than a 12-foot autopilot or the 13.5-foot autopilot. So, but if anybody can do it, it's Old Town. So I definitely looking forward to what's coming in the future. And Scott, I was actually just getting ready to get to that. That was, I think the XTR and the Wilderness Kayak really stole the show at ICAST. To me, being kind of eye on everything, to me, inflatables was like the under the radar star of ICAST. So Wilderness, they have the iAttack, which has done really well. Newport coming out with like an inflatable skiff that's got a flat transom that they pair with their clamp-on NT 300, I think it's called, where it's a clamp-on 3-horse electric outboard. And that thing with the swivel seat and the ability to run tandems and the lightweight, I would really like to see a lot more people get into the inflatables. And I'm not asking you to really throw your money out of it, but if you got somewhere where you can try something out, or you know somebody that owns one of these, you owe it to yourself. Yeah, Alex Rudd just got an NRS CUDA, and he's done most of his videos on it, so he's really enjoyed that. Chris, I did not know that. Did they do away with both sizes, or did they discontinue one size? Yeah, so I know they did the 10.5 and the 12.5, which to me, I don't think we ever really touched the 10.5 just because of the small price difference and what you get out of it. But I hate hearing that. Obviously, I think NRS had, and the Pike. Wow. See, I've kind of had my eye off of that a little bit. I know with the CUDA, I know there was a lot of supply issues. They've been on back order forever. So I don't know if they shut down production knowing they were going to discontinue it, or I don't know if they discontinued it because they couldn't do the production of it. We had some that they do drop shipping for us, so you could order it from us. It's directly shipped from from NRS, and we had somebody buy it like mid or early summer, late spring, and it didn't ship out until like October or something. Innovative Solutions, yeah, and Jeff Little and Chris here too, Chris Funk. If you haven't checked out his channel, he's done a lot of videos. So him and his wife they did the Pike Pro from NRS and the CUDA from NRS, and they do a good job of doing several videos. It's not just somebody just doing one video over, kind of giving you the features. It's really nice to see people do on the water stuff like Chris here and Alex Rudd and all them, and Jeff Little. Jeff Little, he's done inflatables for a while where he'll put motor on it. He's got gear track. He does a lot of really good DIY stuff too. It's crazy to me to watch somebody like Jeff throwing back 20-inch smallmouth bass like they're an annoyance, and we're constantly hunting for them down here. Yeah, the Isle. The Isle was another one that really came on, and they've been there for a while. But being at ICAST and seeing the inflatable options, you're seeing better seats, you're seeing better mounting options, you're seeing motorization capability. I don't know how they are to paddle, and I'm just saying that because if the motor craps out on it, you're going to be paddling it. There's no other option there. So. But yeah, so everybody, I just really wanted to kind of discuss what was going on with you guys, and just full transparency. I'm still doing content; that's not changing. But I'm just going to be driving to a different location to do it instead of having it in my own backyard, and kind of, may have to be more strategic in how I film and what I do. And we'll still do these live streams. We'll still have guests on. Some of them may be pre-recorded, or we may just throw a live stream up whenever they're available, if we feel like it's something that you guys would really enjoy kind of interacting with. But anyways, guys, that's really it for tonight. I just really wanted to get in front of you guys, talk about what's going on. That way it doesn't create a lot more questions if I post something on Facebook. I like being verbal on stuff. But again, thank you so much for the support. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, if you're looking at, if you just have a passing interest in kayaking, and I'm not talking about just fishing, I'm talking about recreational, whitewater, and you have one of these paddle shops, even if you're not ready to buy right now, you owe it to yourself to get in some of these places. These are some of the coolest businesses on earth, and they're run by people that are extremely knowledgeable. That's probably been the biggest feedback that I've ever gotten at the shop, was people saying, you guys are just so knowledgeable, because it's all we do. You know, we're not selling, you know, leggings and baseball helmets and bats and, you know, things on the side. It's all we're doing. So
I remember our first experience with OMTC. We were customers first, and I walked in. I didn't even realize there was 2 rooms, because he sent me out there by myself. And I walked in and I was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm going to need him to come with me.
Yeah, it's a different
world. I cannot even begin to tell you how much of my dissertation and how much homework I have done sitting inside of a kayak this the last 6 months. So even me, who doesn't work there, I'm there. I was there all the time, just because of the atmosphere, the talking to the customers and enjoying it. We still love that aspect of it. I don't think that's ever going to change.
Oh, no, not at all.
And so we are still kayakers at heart. We still are love fishing at heart. So none of that is changing. It's just, it is going to look a little different, and we're not in the same location.
That is. And again, Heather, if you follow us on Facebook, I have a page, which is like a business page, just The Bearded Paddler. I don't do a whole lot with it. I'll do a little bit, but just a personal page, just like you have on Facebook, I'm sure. It's just first name Bearded, last name Paddler. I'm a lot more active on that. If you have trouble finding something where you're at, let me know where you're at. You can, any of my posts you can comment on. You can send me a direct message. Again, I'm still here to help you guys out. That's why I started the channel. And again, I'm monetized on YouTube. So again, I do get some revenue from the ads, but really the whole reason for me doing this was to educate people, to show people what's out there. I give my pros and cons to everything. So again, doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to have the same pros and cons as many of you may have. And again, I'll try to be upfront with that, because again, I'm going to use it differently than somebody else, and then somebody else is going to do the same thing in reverse there. But I enjoy the sport. I enjoy getting out there, and we're river rats. I mean, we like being out on the rivers and the creeks. We like chasing smallmouth. We like going out on the lake every now and then, but we just like being outside. So, and then sometimes change is good. And that's, again, the next chapter is going to be a positive one. It's, still kind of, and the information will come on that in the future. I can't say a whole lot on it, because it's not a paddle shop. Unfortunately, it's not in the paddle business, but it will kind of allow me to do a lot more stuff on the side there as well. So as far as financially, but it's been a blessing. But again, like I said earlier, big shout out to Larry. I'm sure he doesn't watch this, because he's not much of a social media guy, and God bless him for that. But being able to give me enough notice, and we don't always get that in the business world. If he would have told me today that they're closing, today was my last day, this would be a much different conversation, both in worry and where our life's going. But having that notice again allowed me to kind of be picky on what I find and what I look for there. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and look forward to continuing the channel, continuing the show. And again, if those of you that watch this on Spotify, on Apple, all that, again, don't forget to give us reviews. I don't know how much that helps or not, but it can't hurt. And follow us on Facebook. Again, we're we're active on Facebook almost daily, as opposed to a weekly video on YouTube and a bi-weekly live stream. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see y'all on the next one.